They're shining in the sun. They're stone and steel, water change to things to run. They are languages and letters. They are pretty and gold. They are command of understanding, and they're covered. They are languages and letters. They are pretty and gold. They are command of understanding, and they're covered. There are canyons, they are coming in the night. They are bright and they are rolling light. They are fear, blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and slow rolling, and they're slowly wide. They are fear, blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and slow rolling, and they're slowly wide. Let us build a bridge of music, let us cross the sun. Let us stand another hand, let us run another fun. Oh, if someone should ask us where we went out today, we'll tell that building bridges and they often gone. Oh, if someone should ask us where we went out today, we will tell them building bridges and we are gone. We will tell them building bridges.
We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Thank you, Bill Staines, for the Bridges song. Welcome to Bridges Programming. My name is Jeff Beller. Next to me is Susan Comine.
Hello.
And on the phone is Dennis Carey. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hi, Susan.
Hello, Dennis.
Hey.
And
I enjoyed being on with you today.
we got down here in a little poor town called Sunny, Florida, which has very little traffic, and it's on the bottom of the Okeechobee Lake and the very top of the Caloosahatchee. So this is where we're at. And
You're in Florida. We're in New York State. This is the longest stoop Sunday on the front stoop. I've never been on a stoop this long in the world.
Well, it is the longest stoop in the world, and you guys are welcome to join us. We here.
All you need to do is go on the virtual stoop.
On the virtual stoop and join in. We're going to be bringing Bucky back again because he wrote a book called Critical Path, and his critical path is what we're actually on now. We want to make sure that all human beings have their basic needs met.
There's always a critical path when we're, talking about the ongoing experience of living. We're always on some kind of critical path, right?
Bucky's specific.
But it applies to the future and to the past. And, his thoughts are not just right now our critical path. They're going to apply to any critical path at any point in history. There's always a critical path somewhere, in our common experience, something that's very compelling that needs to be resolved.
Right. This is
what was it you were looking at?
I'm trying to see what this is here. And
in fact, there's a definition of critical path, and we did bring it out in a previous program, but I think it's useful to bring it out again. The history. If you look up the term critical path, it's a critical path method, and it's a type of algorithm for scheduling a set of project activities. In other words, it's a way of putting priority to what comes first, what comes second, what comes third.
Well, before we do that, what comes first here, You're listening to Bridges Programming. This is Sunday on the Front Stoop. It's brought to you by, because it's the impotence behind all of our work. Right now, we've learned something we call it the Human Renewable Energy Measure. And you can see it if you're watching video. It's up on the screen. And we flash all these websites because it's propaganda. And we are here to try to help humanity. It's a humanitarian radio stage, and everything is good propaganda. There's anything fun doing it.
Right.
We don't sell you anything. We don't ask you to put your social security number in. We don't ask you to put your website in or anything. Just understand that all human beings have to have their basic needs met, not their wants. Their wants is what makes human beings human. Squirrels don't have wants, they have needs. They just all live by the porch. Birds, animals have needs and they try to fulfill their needs. Very rarely would you see a squirrel
saying, I want to live in a palace.
Right. Or even greedy, they may want to collect more nuts to survive, but they're not being greedy. They're trying to get their basic needs met. Human beings have a different approach. We have a language, and our language creates some very complicated things, but it's not that complicated. It's just basic needs must be met for about an hour of your time.
The starting point is not complicated.
The starting point is simple. All humanity has to have their basic needs met.
So if you want to make
With today's technology, you should only have to work anywhere in the world about an hour. And that's what we share. We don't share the money. We don't share the wealth. We share the basic technology. So all human beings have to work 1 hour a day for their basic needs met. I didn't mean that.
Well, when you're saying you're referring to technology, you're saying that should relieve us of a lot of labor worldwide, because if technology is taking over a lot of, there's a good aspect of that. It eliminates jobs, but when it eliminates jobs, that free time should go to everyone, not just the extra value of that going, as our economics does now, to a very small percentage of the population, what some people would call the elites or whatever. But this is a we're not targeting anybody. What's happening is that our economics does not allow for the equal and fair distribution of the results of our technology, which are common inheritance, our common heritage, is what we've invented, from the point where we invented the tools for agriculture and how to melt metal, and all these things are common knowledge that's come up through history. But what you're saying too is, we were talking to somebody today on the phone this morning, and you say, well, how are you going with the progress on that? Is anything happening? Yes, whenever someone understands that basic needs can be measured and do need to be met through our economic system, that's something happening. Because when a person understands that, and in conversation or whatever, it changes the way that they behave. If they understand that, in their gut, and they're sincere about their understanding, they're not just, saying, yeah, I understand, and then go off and continue with their behavior, that has been, ingrained in all of us from birth, to shop till you drop, and, observe all the different distracting holidays in terms of not what they mean anymore, but what you can buy. These are, ways that the economy is manipulating you. And if you understand that in order to meet all the basic needs worldwide, and that they can be measured, and that they can be, these needs can be distributed worldwide because they can be measured, that the economics can be an asset to the survival of people, and eliminate poverty, eliminate wars. For the most part, there'll still be people that want to fight with each other for generations because of the harm that's been done, by the way that, millions of people right now are becoming refugees because their country is destabilized in Syria and they fear for their lives. These kind of things, it takes a long time to go away. But just let me make my point, and then I'll. The progress is that if you understand that needs can be measured, human needs can be measured, and that we have the technology to satisfy them all through economics, and we have and we know that we understand this. That every time someone understands this, it changes their behavior subtly. And this is the kind of acceptance that a measurement gradually has in the human population. And it's the way that any of our measurements have become commonly used. We just see the need for it. We know that it's necessary. We know we have to name it. Okay, I'm trying. I hope I could make that as clear as I can.
Well, the thing is, when you said the refugees,
yeah.
Let me ask Dennis, when people move from a country to country.
So I was being hopeful. This can happen.
What's changed in that country? Is the air no longer fit to eat or drink?
The air is
it's nothing to do with what they can breathe. It's a lot to do with if people that are in that country want them there or not.
Okay, but why, if they flee from your home or our home, or we leave our home, what would cause us to leave our home to move, let's say, to a different location? In my case, I leave my New York home to my Florida home because Mother Nature makes it very cold and I'm uncomfortable in New York, right?
Right.
So I go where it's warmer, and I save a lot of energy by not heating my home by living in a warmer climate. Very similar to what the cavemen did years ago. They would migrate following the warmer temperature so they could stay warm.
in the Indian.
The Indians or the cavemen, or
Tribal
groups, they moved. They were nomads. They kept on going back and forth where the temperature was warmer, right?
There are even birds that fly south.
Yeah, way south, or even further than where we are.
Snowbirds. So what is creating the movement in a place like Syria or a place like Africa or other places that people are being forced out of their homes?
Well, in my opinion, whether it's Syria or Iraq or anywhere in the Middle East, I think it has a lot to do with what's under the ground over there. That oil.
Okay. But what's forcing people out of their homes?
Well, that's what I was saying. There's other people there that don't want them there, and so that's why they're being forced out of their homes.
But they're not being forced out of their homes because they don't want them there. What's forcing them out of their home?
To answer the question.
Fear, F-E-A-R.
Fear from people shooting them.
Right.
Well, and the reason why we're shooting them is so it's not what I'm trying to get at is it's not a nature-based problem. There's a choice. The choice is that other human beings create a phony boundary line where they're allowed to drop bombs on the people leaving, and they feel as though they're going to die. So not because it's a lousy climate or because there may be no jobs, they may be, it's about the economics of that country that has a phony boundary line, that's phony stuff, that's actually killing people by lies and what else can I call it? Lies and behavior that is not real. It's not part of life. It's not part of nature, even though it's actually cutting people's lives short because of the way the economic system is controlling the political system.
But there's a real thing there. I mean, people are actually being
Killed
violently.
Yes, but it's a phony pretense, because if the economics was good, nobody would be bombing them, and everybody would be sharing, and they'd be sharing technology, and they'd be sharing not so much the wealth, but the ability to stay in one location and not flee their country. Does that make sense?
I have a solution. You know, I think I could solve this problem. There's something called peak oil. It means that oil is going to peak out. You won't even be able to go under the ground and get it anymore. And I think that's going to stop a lot of what we're calling terrorism over there, whether it's in Iraq or Saudi Arabia. I think when the oil peaks out and it's not under the ground anymore, we're not going to have all of this going on.
That's an
because
economic
it was like
thing too.
by Saudi Arabia, number 6 on the list of dictatorships in the whole world, getting weapons from countries like us, and then they get it. You know, we get a good price on oil. I understand that, but I mean, imagine if on 9/11, out of 19 hijackers, imagine if 15 out of 19 were from Saudi Arabia. Now, you and I love democracy. We love freedom. Would we be happy if our president was taken out and replaced by a dictator? We wouldn't want that. And so, you know, some of what we call terrorism could be provoked by our dependence on that oil that's under the ground over there.
Yes, and you're talking about an economic effect.
But
People wouldn't want it if they couldn't make money out of
But
it. Of
Dennis-
course, energy is essential, you know, the way that our industries
But don't you think that if it, suppose we got rid of we don't need any more oil. It's no longer necessary. We just have to now build solar panels, right?
Right.
And we get rid of the military, and we get solar panels on all the roofs. Now, why is it going to really change anything? Now, I used to think that, by the way. I used to think that if we could do renewable energy, not just solar, but all renewable energy, fossil fuel, get rid of fossil fuel, put biomass fuels and grow your garbage to alcohols, wind generators, everything that we can do naturally.
dynamic would change.
Everything would change. And then I realized that, and then I woke up one day and I said, well, the whole industry is based on, our economic system is based on an oil standard, right?
Right.
So we're basing everything on the U.S. dollar, which has to be converted to a barrel, to U.S. Anyone who wants to buy oil in this country, in this world, has to change their currency over to a U.S. dollar, because we're controlling the market through our military, that they have to use the U.S. dollar to buy the fuel. So if we get rid of...
And that keeps the dollar value.
Right. So if we get rid of fossil fuel, and the U.S. is no longer you don't need to buy U.S. dollars to have fossil fuel, you would still have an economic system that is going to be putting down a large portion of the world population. So the same, for argument's sake, the same 1% are going to control the economics. So we said renewable energy, or all the world monetary system.
That'll be actually better for the climate, but it won't change the way that people live.
So we said, so a group
Or our
of us,
relationship with the rest of the world.
got together and we said, let's get off of the oil standard and go to a renewable energy standard. Get off of the oil energy standard and go to a renewable energy standard. In other words, instead of oil OES, go to an RES, a renewable energy standard. And then we figured, well, how is that going to work? And everything we did, we just kept on chasing our tail, because we didn't have a starting point.
Which there is none in our economics.
There's
The only
no-
thing is an intention in the economics, which is to make
It is
profit.
subjective.
And to make profit, you are going to go after the most valuable resources. And right now, there are valuable resources in the Middle East. But meanwhile, while they got all our attention there in the Middle East, Dennis, the biggest mining is going to be going on in Africa, Central and Eastern Africa and Western Africa, all those areas, not just that, it's rich in every
lots of
natural resources you can think of. And the mining of Africa is now probably 10 years in. There are countries are going in there, with their corporations, with their technology, and they're buying the attention of the leaders. This money is not going to go to the people. There's still going to be, subsistence farmers, and it's not going to be distributed. It's the same rationale, because this economics, all it wants is to make profit.
For instance, and the reason how they do that is the very small percent of the world population is controlling the economics. Therefore, if I have no way of knowing okay, let's do it this way. Suppose I say to you, I can make a lot of money if I have cat fur, and I'm going to pay you 1 penny for your cat to get cat fur. Now you say, wait a second, that cat is very valuable. Well, how valuable is your cat or your child or a person? How valuable is that? How do you know how much your cat is worth, or how much you?
And if the value of cat fur goes way, way up, lots of people will sell their cats.
Or they breed cats and start skinning them the same way we do all animals for food, and there's a commodity there, and we rape our soil for getting vegetables. So the more people like vegetables, the more we mess up our soils to try to monoculture the product that they can sell the most, because and that's what we found out. We tried to go to the renewable energy standard. We realized that there's no base to start from.
If you try to insert that standard into our present economics, it becomes the same kind of dynamic, right, as what oil,
whether it's oil or if it's
energy
food,
is.
Because there's no base start point. So we had to come to an idea.
There's no agreement.
That said, how do we come to an agreement of a place where we are now? And that's how we came to the human renewable energy measure. Because we said that all humanity has to have their basic needs met for a period of their basic needs met within an hour of their time, of their life, because we only live 80 years of age.
Well, no, you're talking about work time.
I'm talking about the reason why work time is so important is because of a lifetime on the planet. We have a certain span that's measurable, and that's 80 years of age. We have a measurable number in energy units for what we require to stay alive in water and food and shelter. Those energy units matched with the time measurement is what the HRM means. So it's a start point. Once you have the start point figured out in energy units, not in money, it can't be manipulated. Now, it can be.
It can change economics dramatically.
But you know where your start point is.
Because then your start point is the meeting of the needs of human needs.
Right. Human beings have to have their
all have common
all humanity
needs.
has to have their basic needs met.
For a minimal amount of time.
Your wants are different. For instance, the rhino horn in Africa is worth more per ounce than gold because people want it, and people who have money in China and other parts of the world believe that gives them some kind of mythical or medicinal thing for sex or whatever they use it for, and therefore they kill rhinoceroses to get their husks from so they can make the powder out of it. Now, their horns,
right.
And how much is that worth? And of course, this is how much you're willing to pay for it. Now, that's not a need; that's a want, and that has to be addressed.
And the type of economics we practice is a want-based economics.
It's not a need-based.
It's not a need-based economics.
So the basic needs has to be needs, basic needs met. Wants are what human beings makes them different from animals. And that's why people say it's too complicated, but it's not complicated. Once we have a start point, and just like gravity was around forever, we just came up with gravity just 400 years ago when Newton decided to name it and come up with the equations. He didn't really understand it that well, and we still don't. But at least we're able to.
Well, we can understand that what our needs are a lot better than most people can understand what gravity is.
Exactly.
But we've named gravity already. But the reason our needs have not been named and are not being met by our economics is simply because, for thousands of years there have been huge, powerful peoples and groups of peoples who have been corralling the excess and the extra value from technology into their own pockets, and it was possible to do this because economics has evolved in that way as a profit-driven. See how much I can get for whatever it is I got to sell. It became a game instead of a system that actually serves human survival. And we need to get control of our economics.
Because otherwise we're going to keep on killing people.
And now we're going, as they say, the focus is on Africa. It's going to be the people are being displaced there. We're not hearing about that. People were displaced 20 years ago and still haven't been able to get back into their countries after the Rwandan genocides and destabilization that occurred over economics then. And now it's coming. China's going in. France, the United States, Europe is, they're eyeing Africa for its natural resources. Even our president is addressing directly the people of Burundi because he wants the United States to have a say in the Burundian government. It's amazing to see the form that imperialism is. It's still around. It's still happening. And it's not to the benefit of the nations that we're going into.
And the nations are all phony. They're not.
They're phony
boundaries. They're phony boundary lines.
And they're dictators and bullies.
And the elected officials or theoretical elected officials are there in the name, and they're there because the economic system puts them in their figureheads, and they put these phony boundaries in, and they put the phony figureheads in. What's real is our humanity. Our economic system is controlling.
So what if we used our resources? How could we use our resources?
We can use our resources to share instead of in competition.
So instead of propping up, a dictator in a country so that we can terrorize the population.
So we say how well can we make sure every population around the world lives with their basic needs met? And we can divide up arbitrarily the countries like we have now because they're boundary lines that are artificial, but we make sure that the way we judge the countries is not how much money they make, but how much they take care of the humanity and how, like China today, how to stop all traffic and close down their mills and their plants because the pollution was so bad that they couldn't stand it. It was killing people.
How could they have gotten to? Why did they get to that point? We
because
did that too.
Economic system.
We did that during our industrial
revolution. We're going to be back soon with Bucky. So, Dennis, the only thing you want to add to that conversation before?
That's why I like doing this show because I'm getting a lot of the truth, which I wouldn't hear when I turn on mainstream media. So thank you. I'll be here when you come back.
Well, we're not leaving. We're just going to See if we can get Bucky over here. Let me get a hold of Bucky, and then we're going to discuss something with Bucky. Come here, Bucky. Come on into our studio here. I don't have the synthesizer ready yet that I was asked to bring in, but I don't have the synthesizer, but I do have Bucky here, and I'm going to. And we got to fix Bucky up. Come on in, Bucky, and say hello to Dennis, and we're going to see if we can get you here to talk to some people here. Okay, Bucky, let me get you in here. Wait a second. I don't know if you can see this. I don't think I saved this yet. Let me see. Let me go back to cancel.
Hey, Susan, don't you think Bucky's done a great job all the years that he was on this planet?
Well, Bucky did a great job. Say hello, Bucky. Hi, guys. How are you? Okay, so we got Bucky here. Now, the reason why we like Bucky so much is, Bucky, you gotta sit over here a little better. Gotta straighten him up. The reason why we like Bucky so much is because Bucky had a measurement, and he said that you have to measure humanity with kilowatt hours. However, Bucky, you made a mistake. You did you know that? What mistake I made? Well, you compared a penny to a kilowatt hour. So the minute you went to a penny per kilowatt hour, Bucky, you blew it because you can't tell me what a penny's worth. However, you knew there was a missing measurement there. And then the other person who said something similar to you was Nicole. You know Nicole? Yeah, Nicole was a good guy. Anyway, so Nicole Tesla. So anyway, that's what. So Susan's gonna read a little bit about your book about.
I don't want to interrupt what you're trying
critical path.
to
So
say.
she's gonna read a little bit about your book. So you go ahead. Okay, so go ahead. Read a little bit.
No, I actually wasn't going to read anything in particular, but I wanted to just one quote, which is what the program was set up about, where you said, and this is continuing your idea about precession, which is that essentially humans are acting in whatever way they act, and maybe not doing the most sustainable type of activities as far as nature is concerned, but nature has a way of producing side effects from our actions that can be beneficial if we can recognize them and then maybe adopt those particular type of actions.
And that's what we talk about synergy. When we do something, like suppose when we put in this, I know he's getting tired.
Yeah, I know.
He's getting sleepy tired.
This is a lot of work for you. Yeah. You may have to.
You know, you've actually been you've been dead for so many years. Resurrecting you is really difficult to do.
Okay.
Well, as soon as we can get you moved forward. Anyway, the synergy we're talking about is supposing we do something like this. Supposing you decided to reorganize your place, your garage or something, right?
Oh, okay, right.
And in reorganizing your garage, you found things you never thought you had, like certain parts that fix something else.
Right, so that leads you to another train thought or some other activities.
Or you might find a whole bunch of computers, and you had a lot of computers
Or
there.
some plugs.
Some plugs or whatever.
Chargers.
And then what that's going to do is but that leads you to something else, right? So therefore, the synergy of cleaning up or neatening up the garage changes the synergy in life. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it can change. It has a ripple effect. It has the way that the ripples go off from a stone dropped in a pond or something
So
like that.
everything we do on this planet has an effect somewhere that we never could expect. No matter how we study it.
Buckminster Fuller would assert that nature chooses for what is sustainable and what is amongst these effects. It will allow the the ones that are beneficial to life support, etc., and by extension, humanity. But and you came to this conclusion, Bucky, around your late 30s or so, and you'd had a lot of traumatic experience, the death of a child, and you were feeling very lost, and to the point where you were suicidal, which is kind of a real turning point for people when they consider something like that, and if they don't kill themselves and decide there's a reason to continue, and you did.
No,
you decided that you actually had an epiphany at that point, and something was saying to you that your life is serving a purpose, and you have no right to do yourself in.
Right.
And then you came up with this very interesting idea that you would use your own life, and by extension the life of your wife and your daughter, to try to be attuned to the side effects that nature wants to nurture, from our, bumbling about as a human species and producing a really, and intentionally doing things that are pretty destructive for the most part. But the side effects of this behavior, you wanted to try to be attuned to that and make what you call artifacts that would nurture these kind of things, like structures for people to live in that were, inexpensive and safe and structurally effective in any kind of weather. Vehicles that got really high mileage, as high
because of energy. I'm very attuned to energy, right?
I'll read a quote. Yes, I'll read a quote from what you said. This were your words in your critical path. Quote, nature might economically sustain human activity that served directly in the mainstream realization of essential cosmic regeneration. In other words, you felt that if you were creating the right objects and using technology in a way that nature could agree with, so to speak, that somehow, economically, your efforts would be sustained. This is the way you felt. And for a lot of, and you, in preparation for this, as you developed things and you developed your ideas in that train of thought, you would patent certain things. You would patent anything that you felt, might be fully evolved, and you had decided it was going to be useful to the future. You also understood that there can be a long lapse between the creation of something like this, a technology that can be useful for
30 years.
It can be 20, 10 years. And so you would patent these things.
Yes.
And eventually, you were right. Even the military was buying patents from you for the geodesic dome and various inventions that you made throughout your lifetime. And it did sustain your family finally toward the end there, and other different synergetic things happened throughout your life that kept you and your family afloat, through the difficult times. There were many, of course, it's not easy to live in this way, but if more people did, I'm sure it would be, everybody would be benefiting each other toward things that are sustainable. Then you start to eliminate a lot of the destructive efforts that slow us down. And I mean, if this is all being said very generally, but you felt that there would be an economic reward.
Right.
If you were somehow
Economics
with what nature wanted.
Economics means economical.
Right.
Not wasteful.
Right, exactly.
We are so wasteful. Look at how many people stood as traffic light in traffic. And all that energy is being wasted. All those horsepowers are trying to wait for a light to get to a job. They can't do. That's not helping anybody. They're just pushing paper. There's something wrong with our systems.
Well, the amount of energy wasted, as you describe it, at the stoplight, or with people running their engines in that way, is way beyond what's going to be recouped in terms of the type of jobs that people are sitting there waiting to get to. Is your assertion, as far as I can tell, and I can agree with that for the most part. And so you essentially bet your life and the security of your family on this experiment that you were going to do, as far as how closely you could create technology and artifacts, as you called them, meaning objects and systems and creations, inventions, how closely you could get to what nature would want to accentuate and preserve. And the results were rewarding, sometimes extraordinary. And you filed hundreds of patents, and many of which you did get economic rewards from eventually. And you were very much aware, and so you did this because you were very much aware how corporations and big companies steal know-how, as you called it.
Right.
And so you wanted to make sure that if you would get some benefit from it, and you were hoping that then these technologies would give benefit to all of humanity because nature was essentially sustaining them and saying, yeah, this is the right way to go. This is a good path to be going on. So you were letting nature choose and meanwhile holding these things for the future. And eventually a lot of them, I mean, one of the things that you did was a one-piece bathroom. We see this in the whole world all the time now, made out of fiberglass. The original one was metal.
Airplanes.
Of course, the GOTs gone right, which was based actually even on your observations.
But more importantly, you need a human energy measure, and that's what my kilowatt hour was.
Well, yes, you recognize that, but then, as Jeff said, you linked it to the money as it was being used at the time, and again, you felt you understood that the economics was a very corrupt system, and you have a whole chapter that we went through in here already in Critical Path about all the shortcomings of economics as we practice it. But still, at that point, you didn't see how, I guess, that we could circumvent it or change it.
The calorie measurement wasn't there yet.
What do you mean by
The energy units, how many energy units everyone needs for food, shelter, wasn't
possible?
calculated.
It wasn't possible to calculate it.
It wasn't calculated. It wasn't possible. It just wasn't.
It wasn't calculated, right? So we need to calculate calories, our nutrition needs. We need to calculate the energy necessary to make our shelter. We need to calculate energy as far as intellectual energy, so that we can share all our knowledge and education with each other. These are the things that can be calculated now, either through, definitely through our computers.
Dennis, are you able to see us on the screen yet?
Oh, yes, Dennis is able to see not just Jeff and Susan, but even Bucky too. And Jeff, I see your shirt, with all those stars on there.
And he got that for free. Somebody gave it to him when we went into a store.
A gin mill.
No, it was a liquor
store.
And he had all these promotional T-shirts that had been given to him, and he said, "You want one?"
And that's where you go biomass fuel, Dennis. Drink the best and burn the rest.
Oh, I'll write that down, Drake.
Drink the best and burn the rest. That's what they say in the Midwest.
I think what we need to do is to think about how, if you want to simplify it, our economic system is a want-based system, and we're propagandized to want stuff and to compete with each other. And what we have to try to understand is that we all have common needs, no matter where we live in the world. And this is a really wonderful thing about the United States, traditionally, after we were such, idiots to destroy the populations that were almost completely destroy the populations that were here when colonists came over, and that was for economics. And all this is driven. They wanted gold, they wanted profit to bring back to the kings, and they were just going to use the United States, the New World, as they said, to mine it, like we're going to mine Africa now. We were mining the New World. Europe was mining it, but a side effect of that were many, many, many people from all different countries coming to the United States because it was a place where they could maybe make a start and feel that they had land of their own. And, a lot of the momentum was, of course, religious freedom, too. But all these things combined so that we have a population in the United States that is almost totally immigrant. And it's very important for everyone to remember that we're all immigrants. Only the Native Americans were here, and they were immigrated from Asia and themselves and out of Africa. But that was way thousands of years before the colonists came here. But we are recent immigrants. We are making and I like the terminology part. I think that that's still a very useful term. And we can see if we are not being our ideas are not being distorted by propaganda that tries to separate us from each other. We live very well together in this big country. We have plenty of room for lots of different cultures, lots of different interactions, and we can see that we have needs that are all the same. We have basic needs that are all the same. That start right from a starting point of our limited lifespan, our needs for nutrition, our needs for knowledge, and our needs for shelter. And then our most important system that we all live under now, and economics is a worldwide system. Its effects are everywhere. If we understand that our needs are common and should be satisfied by a real economical system, then we are in the process, all of us, of creating a new measurement.
Now,
We're creating a new measurement, and that measurement will change our economics. That agreement will change our economics from a want-based economics to a need-based economics.
Here's the problem, and here's the solution. You ready for this? Bucky's been writing for years everything about all the problems, and he wrote about the solutions.
Right.
Aristotle, what is that guy's name?
Aristotle?
Aristotle. Okay, he talked about this. Everyone talks about the problems, and they throw the word greed out there. And they put the word greed out there. That's a cop-out, because how are you going to stop greed? And greed is an emotion. It's like love or hate. They're just emotions. But we think we found the answer. The answer is very simple. We need a basic measurement. Making sure all of humanity has their basic needs met. Now, the next question is, okay, smart guy, how do you want to get this? How are you going to make it happen? Well, and that was my conversation this morning with someone. We don't make it happen. We just get it into the vocabulary. The way we do that is you. Anyone who hears this program must talk to their friends about a measurement that all human beings have to have their basic needs met according to nature, not according to money. They have to have their education, food, and shelter. And that's how we base the country on how well they help get their people the education, food, and shelter, no matter where they are in the world, for 1 hour of their time of their life a day. That gives them their basic needs met. Good kilowatt hours. A kilowatt is what I'm using. And Nikola Tesla came up with an entire equation, but there was a missing number in that, and the missing number was the energy units and the span of life. Those are the missing numbers that we need to do the mathematical axiom on. Once we get that mathematical axiom, and hopefully that some genius mathematician would pick this up and understand what we're talking about, and come out with this and get a Nobel Prize for it, would be great. Then that person would be like, what's his name? Newton. Newton came up with something so obvious. And he said, I'm going to call it gravity, and we're going to take this and measure it. And that gave us the ability, once we were able to measure it, then we could put things to it like flying an airplane, or the velocity and the impact. That was all part of gravitation, or gravity. And we still don't understand how it works, but at least we can measure it and figure out what effects it has. We know we need all things. All humanity has to have their basic needs met. And if they weren't getting their basic needs met, they would die. If you don't have water, in some cases, you will die. In all cases. If you don't have food, you will die. If you have too little food, you'll get malnourished, and you look like Bucky here. So that's what happens once you're dead, you look like Bucky here. And you know, we don't get resurrected like we do with Bucky and Nicole Tesla and other people that we bring back who've been talking about the same things we were, who sort of went by the wayside after their 80 years of life, and they dropped dead, and then they went to dust, and people forget about them because the mainstream media won't pick them back up again. We are saying to you that it's terribly important to have your basic needs met around the world for 1 hour of your time. That's the most important thing. And the way you make this happen, the answer to do this is you, individually. Uncle Stan wants you. We are saying that you don't have to pay money or join a group, or just understand what we're saying. And if you want to make up your own cards to say, human renewable energy measure, as you see it on the screen here, we also have a nonprofit called Renew the Earth, which we could use some money donated to that. But that's so we can give out awards to different kids and people.
Write essays about
the H-Trail. You can send us any information you want about the Human Renewable Energy Measure. We appreciate it. We want your input. We're not telling you what to do. It's an idea that a few of us came up with. And we're saying this idea may help all humanity have their basic needs met and stop the wars. And that's the most important thing. Stop poisoning our life support systems, meaning our air, our water, and our land, our ground, our shelter, our soil. Don't poison those life support systems. And you're poisoning it in the name of profit, not in the name of humanity.
Right, and if I could add to that.
Go ahead.
I took notes during Pope Francis's address to the U.S. Congress earlier, in the summer. Was it late spring?
Late spring.
That he came. He's now in Africa, addressing many of the nations there. But he was saying in his address to Congress, we need to move forward in unity and generosity for the common good. And he refers to the effects, the unjust structures of economics as it's being practiced today. And in order to restore hope, this has to be reimagined. Our economics needs to be reimagined by people everywhere. We need to distribute the extra value of our technology and our common inventiveness fairly throughout humanity. And this kind of distribution will ultimately impact nature everywhere, because if you do things economically, you're not going to destroy habitats. You're not going to use up every last bit of some resource and then move on to the next.
Right.
And he talks about how everyone is an immigrant. We all come from someplace else. We're all we don't even people who came over on the Mayflower came from someplace else. And I'm talking about the United States. People try to pull rank because I've been here longer
forever.
I've been here longer than you have.
The only people who've been here, as far as we know, the Native Indians who were born. Well, even they didn't come. They matriculated from Africa. So, as far as we know, the first populations of this world were in Africa. And then during the Ice Age, they came down here, according to anthropologists
from Asia
and like that. So there's no one group of people who
most of us were once foreigners, is the way he put it. And he himself was a South American born, and now he's living in Italy.
That's the Pope.
The Pope Francis, right? So I just thought I would bring some of his thoughts into the conversation.
Yeah, Pope Francis was great. Please don't hesitate to tell your friends about the Human Renewable Energy Measure. It's a very important measurement that we need to get into our vocabulary. Dennis, I want to thank you for joining us and your input, and Susan and Bucky, and thank you all for listening. And
Bye, Dennis.
Please look at the let me see if I can get this to work here. Oh, come on, let's go here.
Susan, what's the website for the Human Renewable Energy Measure?
Yeah, vhrem.org.
Like THE,
right.
HREM.org.
HREM.org, right.
Good.
Yeah, and starting, we're going to be posting some of the beginnings of a draft of a book about it, and asking for people to contribute their ideas and how to make it more understandable.
Excellent.
So, and we're going to be working with a friend of ours. Actually, I see him today, Bill Holmberg, and he's in the hospital, but his brain is still working great, so we're going to tap his brain and see if we can do some editing together.
Thank you all for joining us.
Awesome fuel affects our lives and flows on a lake. Cars and farms and factories and stores. Supplies go down, our prices soar, our futures are at stake. And when it's gone, it won't come back, and we'll be out of luck. Oh, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone, it's fuel for fun. It all comes down to energy.
gather energy from corn and grass and trees. We try to diversify those fuels. Break loose from the stranglehold of oil companies.
Renewables can fuel the world.
We're here to spread the news of energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone, but this can feel forgotten. It all comes down to energy.